Estamos en Daytona y vamos a ver NASCAR.
Okay, let's go.
Please keep your hands, arms, feet, legs, all that inside the tram because, well, the company gets kind of upset if we leave any parts behind. So please keep them all inside. Here we go, our tour of the Daytona International Speedway, folks. We began construction of this track in November of 1957. It was completed in time for the first Daytona 500 by February 22nd of 1959. We built up 480 acres of land, and 180 of those acres are to my right here over that green hill. That green hill is actually the backside of turn 4 of the super speedway. Those two little tunnels you see there, they go into the infield area. That's the original tunnels we used out here when we first started racing. But had to make some changes, so a lot of things have gotten a lot bigger since those days. Drivers used to actually have to drive their cars in through those tunnels into that 180-acre infield area to get ready for the racing.
Fans demand, the heritage that race fans expect from Daytona. As 2016 saw the closest finish in the history of the Great American Race, it not only conjured memories like photo finish in the inaugural 1959 Daytona 500, but reminded race fans everywhere that a reimagined race experience hadn't changed the core of what Bill France envisioned decades ago. Welcome to the World Center of Racing.
And my dear friends, welcome to the infield of the Daytona International Speedway. Now, show of hands, how many of you is this your first time to see the infield? Fantastic. Well, I'm glad I could be your first. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you're seeing. Now, obviously, with those cars going by, that is the super speedway surface. They're actually coming on turn 1 there, 31 degrees of banking. That car just came off the tri-oval area of the front stretch. Driving turn 1 to turn 2, of course, that makes sense, right? Down the back stretch to turns 3 or 4, come back around the tri-oval area, do it over and over again. Now again, turn 1s and 2, 3, and 4 have 31 degrees of banking. There's 42 feet of area between that solid yellow line and that white wall up top, like the area where it says Daytona. Now imagine you're here at a NASCAR race and these cars are coming through here side by side. They're 180, 190 miles per hour. They're 2 wide, 3 wide. Sometimes they even get 4 wide if they're really trying to advance. And sometimes they get into each other and end up into those walls. Now back in the early days of the racetrack, up until about 2003, that wall on top there was a solid cement wall. And as you can imagine, it didn't have much give to it if a car should happen to run into it. Well, about 2003, NASCAR decided we need to do things better and created what's called the Safer Barrier. SAFER stands for Steel Foam Energy Reduction Barrier. It's 5 levels of rolling steel tubing backed up by styrofoam triangles, all strapped together to the cement wall. So now if the car is to happen to impact that wall, it'll bend and flex a lot and dissipate a lot of that energy, the kinetic energy, and in turn minimize damage as much as possible to the car and, of course, most importantly, to the driver. Now, wall's also on the infield wall as well, because sometimes they bounce right across from the top wall to the bottom like a ping pong ball. Now on my left over here, you'll see that blue guardrail area, folks. That's part of our infield road course. I told you about the Rolex 24. Now that's a road race, but they also use the super speedway. So they come off the front stretch, they make a left-hand turn down into the road course. They zig and zag, do a 180, come down, zig and zag a little more, do another 180, and make their way back up when they make another left-hand turn into turn 1 back into that 31 degrees of banking. Now the road course is an all-flat surface. So the speeds there are a lot slower. That's why they don't have as fancy guardrails as you have on the speedway track. Now let's stop right here for a minute. Let you get a good picture from the distance of our seating venue. I'll tell you about it while you're doing that. And other things, put you right in the middle of that action, like I said. Now, there's 101,500 seats in that venue. If you're here for a Daytona 500, and all the camping areas in here on the infield is where you see numbers on the fence. That's the camping area. They're full as well. There's no room to move in here pretty much. There's no room for new campers. You're just going to see people and campers. No grass, because they're so full. And we estimate, we don't ever know an exact number, but for a Daytona 500 weekend, especially on that Sunday, we'll have between 150 and 220,000 people here at the Speedway. Now, the reason we're driving over here through our Geico campground, normally driving that road to my left over there, you'll see the police cars around here. That's the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. They're here training their deputies on a procedure called the Pursuit Intervention Technique, or pit maneuver. So you see that on TV sometimes. Those guys have to train for that. And our sheriff here in Volusia County is going to make sure every one of his deputies is capable of doing the pit maneuver. So I would advise you, don't run from them. All right, again, please keep your arms and legs inside the tram. I'm going to do a little maneuver here. And friends, I'm going to stop here, let you step off the driver's side of the tram, meet me up here by the front of the truck. And we're going to take a walk in here. We're going to make it kind of quick and show you a little bit about what's inside here at the Rolex chute. Everybody doing good? All right. Okay. I'll take a little walk here. I'm going to walk ahead of you, and I'm going to give you a little bit of the history of why this is like it is. Now, back in 2000, that's where they are. Y'all make your way up to the fence here. Just stay right here by the fence. So you can go on. So right there. Go there. I'll stay over here. You go in there. You follow directions well, though. I like that. I said, follow me. Well, you did. What we're standing on right now is the backside of what we call pit road. If you know the racing, this is where the cars will come in here and get a tire change, a 4-tire change, fuel, get whatever they needed done, and back out in about 11 or 12 seconds. With the crew, all the crews are lined up right here along that white wall. That's where you'll see the pit carts there, as well as the crew chief, all the equipment there. And if they're all lined up, it's just completely full and packed during a Daytona 500. So it's a pretty amazing place to be, but it's also a dangerous place to be for the crews. Because quite frankly, I was on a crew for a couple of years for a Porsche racing team. And you had to get your head on a swivel, because that little white wall is almost between you and those fast-moving race cars and yourself. So you got to be very careful. Now, as you look further out there, of course, you're going to see what we call the triangle area, that banked area right there, going on the start-finish line. That black and white checkered line over there, to your right here to my 1 o'clock position, that is the start-finish line. I noticed, too, people watch races on TV, they say, gee, I thought it was flat out there. That's 18 degrees of banking. Now, believe it or not, unfortunately, we can't go out there today. On the rare occasion we can, you find 18 degrees of banking is a lot. People get off the tram and they go, whoa, that's quite a bit. That's why we don't walk up to 31 degrees of banking. It's very difficult to do. Right above the start-finish line there is the flagger stand. Anybody know why we call it the flagger stand? Yeah, because that's where the flagger stands, right? Yeah, that's where they're up there with the green flag, checker flag, waving around. That's where that's located right there. Those guys have to be up there for the entirety of the race, whether it's 3 hours. And again, that seating here is the Trioval Club area. Above that is suite seating and the broadcast area. You see the curtains over there in the glass area there. That's where the broadcasters sit during the race and our race control people. So if you're watching the race, that's where they're talking to you from. And then all the other suites over there on the right-hand side and off the top floor over there, that's all suite seating. Well, folks, I'd like to welcome you to Victory Lane. Now, this is where every driver that gets out on that racetrack in competition wants to end up at the end of the race, right? This is where they want to be, but it's only one person. Only one driver can end up here at the end of that race. Now, we use this for the NASCAR races as well as like the IMSA race, HSR, Historic Sport Car Racing happens here, Ferrari Challenge, motorcycle racing. A lot of events will use this Victory Lane at the end of their races. We just kind of change the background for whatever appropriate event it is at that time. Part of the lighting system. Inside those boxes is a mirror configuration, and they're 2,000 watt bulb. So the bulb actually shines toward the mirror and helps diffuse the light. So, should a driver end up in an incident facing towards it, they won't be blinded by the light. So here we are in the Turn 1 tunnel. I hope we make some improvements. This is one of those during that 2004 renovation. And here we have pictures of this we have throughout the year. And on the right-hand side, pictures of highlights of the past Daytona 500s. Now, my favorite picture is this black and white picture here on the right-hand side of 3 race cars. It looks like a fine finish, but actually one of the cars was 2 laps down. But the other